Hi, I'm Lina Nielsen and today I'm going to take you through a yoga for sleep flow. So this flow is going to be perfect if you're just coming back home from a long day, or maybe you struggle with sleep, or maybe you feel super tired but you're just not getting to sleep as well as you usually can. This is going to be the perfect flow for you. So when you're ready, let's get started. So we're going to get started in a supine butterfly position. So I would fully recommend having a pillow or a bolster for this pose, and we might use it again later on in the practice. So if you are using a pillow or a bolster, pause the video and go get it. Otherwise, we're going to lay it down vertically so that we can lay on it long ways. And then you're slowly going to bring the sacrum or the lower part of your spine to touch the pillow. Feet are touching, big toes touching in heels. And we're slowly going to come to lie down on the pillow. It's going to feel super relaxing straight away. And it also just takes pressure away from the hips when you're in this position. So if you do this position usually, you'll notice that your hips tend to feel a little bit uncomfortable after a while. When we're elevated like this, it kind of takes a little bit of that feeling away. And you can let the knees drop and relax much better when you have this pillow. So you can either bring your hands to rest on your stomach, hips, or you can bring them down to your sides. I'm going to keep mine down on the sides of my body. I'm slowly going to shut the eyes and start to relax. And what I want you to do is start to soften the jaw, the forehead. And once you start to feel a little bit more settled down, more rooted onto your mats, we can start to shift the awareness to the breath. Now, what's great about this pose when you're using a pillow or a bolster is its chest opening. So you'll notice, especially if you're using a bolster in particular, that the chest is in an open position. Your breath is going to feel deeper, and that's going to help you relax so much more than lying flat down on your bed hoping to fall asleep. This is going to help you feel super relaxed. And once you find that relaxation in the body, we're slowly going to start to deepen the breath. So take a huge inhale. And I want you to focus on the chest expanding rather than the belly. And exhale. And we're not trying to alter the breath in any way. Take a deep inhale. So we're not going to utilize any ujjayi breath or any special techniques. We're just going to let the breath be natural. And exhale. We're going to go 2 more breaths. Take a deep inhale. And exhale. And 1 last breath. Take a deep breath in. And let it all go. You can sigh out the exhale here. Nice. Slowly and gently, in your own time, I'm going to give you the space to do so. We're slowly going to come up to our seated butterfly pose. So if you want to, you can take that pillow to one side. I'm just going to face you so you can see me. So once you're in seated butterfly, you can have the feet either far away from you, you can have the heels close to your bum, whatever feels good for you. I'm just going to bring them slightly closer. And you can either grab hold of the ankles or interlace your fingers over your big toes. I'm going to interlace them over the big toes. And we're slowly inhale, we're going to lengthen the spine, open the chest up, squeeze the shoulder blades together, looking up towards the ceiling. And as we exhale, we're going to round the spine, bringing the forehead all the way down, so close to the big toes that it's almost touching. If you're super flexible, you might be able to do that. Otherwise, we're just going to try and bring it as close as we can. Now this pose, obviously we're not supine anymore, we're seated, so we've got more gravity at this point, pushing down our body. So this is going to feel quite intense for the hips. But it's great to open out the hips to release some of that emotional tension that might be keeping you up at night. And also when you open out the hips and you release that tension, you do feel more relaxed. And relaxation is what we want to be able to sleep better. And we're going to stay here for quite a while. This is actually traditionally a yin yoga pose, and yin yoga is renowned for making you feel super relaxed, super restored to help you feel asleep. So it's going to be almost yin style practice, holding poses for a lot longer than what we'd usually do in a normal flow, yoga flow / vinyasa style class. We're going to try and settle down into a lot of these poses. So it's really important that we find that connection to the breath. So even when we feel a little bit distracted, we can always bring focus back to the breath, which is going to help us feel grounded, feel centered, feel more relaxed. So in this pose, if you find yourself drifting, thinking, I need to do this, I need to do that, or, there are so many thoughts flying through your head, I would always urge you to bring awareness back to controlling the breath, making the exhales nice and long, and settling down. We're going to go one more breath in this pose, and exhale. Good. Slowly come up to seated, and we're going to stay on the theme of opening out the hips. This time we're going to take the legs to seat nice and wide. We're going to find a nice wide-legged forward fold. So if you can, take your heels to the corners of your mat. If it's too uncomfortable, you can bring them closer. If you're super open and it's available to you, you can take them slightly wider, almost to a box split. I'm going to take you into a seated Paschimottanasana, a wide-legged forward fold. So what I want you to do is, as you inhale, we're going to lengthen the spine again, looking up towards the ceiling. And as we exhale, we're going to start to fold forward so that we can bring the forearms down to the floor. Now, if it's too uncomfortable, you might need to bring the legs in slightly. Good. So we don't want to have too much of an intense stretch, but we do want to find some sense of openness. So if you're finding yourself straining to stretch, that's not going to make you feel sleepy. So if you find yourself in a kind of strained position, or you're forcing the stretch, I would highly recommend that you find a more restorative, relaxing flow. And again, we're going to stay here for a little bit. So also I want you to think about what position you're going to be in that's going to allow you to stay here for 2 minutes, 5 breaths. So make sure that you're comfortable, and that's the main thing. And now if you want to, you can use the pillow to rest your head or forearms on, and just slowly start to melt into this pose. Focusing on the breath and just relaxing. This is a nice position here, kind of almost as if you're daydreaming, but I'm going to look at you, so I'm going to sacrifice my relaxation to guide you through your relaxation, your practice today. So we're going to focus on allowing the chest to slowly soften down onto the mat. So even though you're on your forearms, you want to kind of feel this sense of heaviness, this sense of, losing all of that control that you have in your body, to kind of surrender into sleep, into relaxation. So if you find yourself kind of wanting to get up, you probably are straining in this position. So adjust accordingly. And also if you feel like at some point the position isn't as comfortable as you thought it might be, feel free to adjust. But the point of these poses is to try and stay as still as possible. So once you find that comfortable position, the goal is to find a sense of stillness. And that's where you're going to feel the chest sinking down towards the mat. You're going to feel the relaxation start to kick in. And times where you're sat still for a long time is where you notice that you fall asleep most. So have you ever been, on a plane and you find yourself drifting off to sleep? It's because you're sat still for so long. So the two are linked, relaxation and stillness. We'll stay for 2 more breaths. And exhale. So you might notice that feeling or that sensation of stretching slowly is going away, drifting away as you start to open up in this position. And last breath. Exhale. Nice. So slowly we're going to come out of this pose again. Take your time, no rash movements or anything. If you've got that pillow in front of you, you can take it away. Good. And then we're slowly going to just bend one leg. So I'm going to choose my right leg. You can choose your left or right. And we're going to bring the sole of the foot to touch the inner thigh on the other side. So once you're here, just maybe push the knee down just to create some space. We're going to open out the lower back, which is going to help you find a bit more of a restful position when you do eventually go to sleep. Once you're here, we're going to bring the torso to face forward, so facing that left foot or the right foot, whether it's in front or not. And we're slowly going to start to fold down into our Janushirasana, our head to knee pose. So the goal is in the name, we're going to try bring head to knee. Now, obviously, some of us have been doing exercise all day, or we've been working all day, and we might find stiffness in the hips and the hamstrings. So if you need to, you can introduce a micro bend into that knee. I'm going to do that because my hamstrings are super tight from running all the time. And you're going to feel this in that QL muscle. It runs either side of the lower back, and that's connected to lower back pain. So if it's lower back pain keeping up at night, then this is going to be great for you to release some of that tension. And we're only going to stay in these poses for about 3 breaths each side. So we've probably got about 1 more big breath here. I'm starting to feel a little bit sleepy now. So slowly and gently, we're just going to come up to seated, and we're going to switch sides. So extend the other leg and bend the one that was straight. And when you next exhale, we're going to just fold into the other side. Remember that you want the torso to face the extended foot. Good. And what you might notice is the QL muscle, so the one that I spoke about that's linked to lower back pain, might feel different on each side. So on the left side, I've just noticed when I've switched sides that my left QL muscle is slightly tighter than the right one. It's always good to make a mental note of this to maybe kind of understand where the imbalances lie in your body. And also when we can focus on that, then we can focus on body awareness. And it's another thing to bring awareness to when you're in these positions for a few moments. Good, we're going to go 1 more breath. And exhale. Nice. Slowly just come back up to seated. This time we're going to bring both legs extended in front of us. Good. And then slowly and gently we're going to come into a forward fold. And I almost urge you to bend your knees, because even if you're super open and super flexible, this is a very intense pose for the hamstrings. And the goal with today's yoga flow is not to find intense stretches, but to find relaxing stretches. So I'm going to bend my knees and come into a restorative forward fold, a passive forward fold. And we're going to stay here for 5 full breaths. And this is the last seated pose that we have. So after this, we're going to find some relaxation. 3 more breaths. This pose is great for the lower back as well, especially when we bend the knees like this, and around the back as well. So you notice the whole posterior chain is being lengthened. So from the hamstrings down the glutes, that's an extended position for the glutes, and then the lower back. So the whole of the back of the body is being stretched here, which is great, because if we're going to lie down on our backs, we want it to feel nice and relaxed, nice and open. 1 more breath. And exhale. Lovely. Slowly come up to seated. My lower back feels great. And then we're slowly going to come to lie down on our backs. Nice. Once you're here, we're just going to squeeze the knees into the chest. Good. And then this is a pose where the lower back is nice and exposed. So if you want to, you can start to sway side to side, especially after stretching it. You can do with a lovely, nice massage. You can start to roll in small circles, maybe change directions. Lovely. And then slowly and gently, we're going to bring both knees to touch, so they're nice and together. And we're going to let the knees drop towards the left side. Oh my God, my back just cracked there. Really lovely. Now we're coming into a supine twist and we're going to take a restorative. So if you can, maybe take your arms into a cactus. If you're used to extending them, and you can extend them, I'd recommend bringing them into a cactus just to kind of find a relaxing pose. And you can blink the eyes shut here as well. Now this is one of the most common restorative yoga poses, and in any class that I do these in, whether it be power yoga or restorative yoga or yoga for hip openers, any pose or any yoga flow that I do this pose in, I always feel sleepy. So I know that this pose is going to make me feel so sleepy and make me fall asleep better. And you'll find this pose in so many yoga nidra classes, which is specifically for sleep, yin classes, restorative classes, all those relaxing type of yoga classes, you'll find this pose in. And you'll feel eventually how powerful this pose is in making you feel sleepy. So stay here for 2 more breaths. And then we're going to switch sides. So we're not totally coming out of this pose, we're just going to balance it out. 1 more breath. And exhale. Nice. Slowly try to keep the hands exactly where they are. Bring the knees back to center. And then we're slowly going to bring both knees down to the right side. And my back just cracked there as well. Good. And we're going to stay on this side for 5 breaths also. And this will be our penultimate pose of the practice. We're actually going to come back into a supine butterfly with the pillow again. So 2 relaxing poses to finish off with. And at this point, you might start to feel the breath slowing down and the heartbeat slowing down as well. These are all signs that our parasympathetic nervous system is kicking into play, and that's the system or the function of our flight response, our rest and digest response. So that's the parasympathetic nervous system that's working in those areas. It's going to tell ourselves or tell our bodies that we're safe and that we are relaxed, and bring cortisol levels down, bring the heart rate down to allow our bodies to rest. So this pose is perfect for kicking that system into function. 1 more breath. And exhale. Good. Slowly bring the knees back to center, bring the feet to touch, and find your pillow. And again, bring that underneath the spine. Remember, the bottom of the pillow is just where your sacrum is. Hands down by the side of your body. I'd actually recommend having them down the side of your body. So if you had them on your hips at the start or your belly, I would recommend bringing them down to the floor. That's going to help us feel more grounded and more centered and more relaxed. And we're going to stay here. If you feel super cold, which is also another sign that the parasympathetic nervous system is working, feel free to put some layers on or find a blanket, something that's going to help you feel warm. Otherwise you can stay here. I'm going to roll my sleeves down and relax. So I do hope that sleep is better for you when you eventually go to bed. I feel like I could fall asleep right now. This pose is so so relaxing, it's so good. But I wouldn't recommend sleeping in this pose, it's not exactly comfortable for the hips. We're going to take 3 more full breaths. And on your last 2 breaths, just let the control go. Just letting it flow naturally. And for the last moment in this pose, I just want you to find your heartbeat. And notice if it's slow and if it's shallow. So when I mean shallow, I mean no deep, loud heartbeats. They're very, very subtle. And if it's not shallow, try to channel that energy and try to slow down the breath to allow the heartbeat. Obviously we cannot control our heartbeat, that's automatic, but if we slow down the breath, it does influence the heartbeat. So try to channel that solemn energy of slow, shallow heartbeats, slow breaths. Good. So we're slowly going to come out of this pose. Take your time. We don't want to have any rash movements. We're going to come up to seated. Good. And we're slowly going to close the practice. So putting the pillow to one side. Good. We're slowly going to bring hands together, thumbs to heart center. We're going to take 1 deep inhale. We're going to hold the breath at the top. And I just want you to think of something that calms you down. So that could be your favorite cup of tea, your bed, maybe visualize that, something that's going to make you feel super calm. And then as you exhale, we're slowly going to bow down, closing our practice. Thank you so much for flowing with me today in our Yoga for Sleep. I hope that you have a great night's sleep tonight. And that you feel a little bit more relaxed, and I'll hopefully see you again sometime soon.